Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. This is episode 434. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. We're doing it live. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Ash, the man, Mishmash Thompson. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself? Surprise podcast.
I love popping these in every now and again. It's been the bye week.
Tell me they're happening.
Yeah, Ash didn't know till late last night. Just popping in. I was out last week for work, and Riz stepped up and did a really great video. We're going to release that as an audio one, just so you know. And it's going to be, we're going to take this one, we're going to put that one at the end, and you're going to wind up with like an hour and a half of content again this week, out of this week from those two. And the audio folks have something to listen to. But we got a great show. We got something really interesting here today. It's kind of, you get to the bye week, and it's always that, hey, it's time to do a retrospective, and let's look at how the Lions have done so far. And we thought about that, but I think everybody knows where we're at this point. I think everybody knows where the team is. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to take you on a Alice in Wonderland type journey from the Lions this year. And I'll get into that in a little second. This is really interesting. I think it's different. It'll be fun. It's an experiment. We'll see how it works out and everything else, but I'm excited to get into it. Basically, I'll just tell you, we're looking into a mirror, and everything is going to be backwards. We got a lot to talk about here. Got a great show lined up. Ash, are you ready to go, my man?
Let's get it on.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Good stuff. Anthony, I want to join the Slack. Brother, patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. Got to get that $5 a month donation. We'll get you in the Slack. It's a great place. I really do mean it. I don't say that just because of the Patreon piece. And it's just a great community of people, and you get in, just start talking. People are good. Be respectful, treat people with respect, because everyone there deserves it, and you do too, and you'll get it. And it's a great place to hang out. I really mean it. I genuinely, that's one of my favorite things to come out of the podcast, the daily kind of ability to talk and get perspective and hang out with really good people. So there you go. All right, let's talk about this. One quick thing we finally got St. Jude locked in. Again, that was supposed to be yesterday and the day before, but as I said, I had to go out for a week for work, and I couldn't do it. December 9th and 10th, we're going to do St. Jude. 24-hour broadcast. It'll be me, Riz, you'll see Ash, you'll see all the gang are showing up for this one. Also, we're going to have the auction this year. It's going to be a little different. It's going to kick off on Black Friday and end during the 24-hour show. Since we're doing the Through the Looking Glass show, we thought that'd be a good way to do a little backwards. So, all right. So St. Jude, December 9th and 10th. We got a big call out for anyone that has any good Lions gear or connections to folks with that, tickets, anything they want to donate that's not Lions gear for the auction, for prize packs during the broadcast or anything. Please get in touch with me, Chris at DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Those donations, all of this to help St. Jude. Every penny that we get, all the costs of doing this, everything comes out of my pocket. We don't take anything off the top, and it's just all going to St. Jude. Help the kids. If you want to help out and you have something you could donate, we'd appreciate that. So thank you for thinking about that. All right, so what is this today? We're going to take a look at the Lions through the looking glass. And if you know the sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, in that they entered this alternate world through a mirror, which was the looking glass. And when they went through, if you know the song White Rabbit, you'll probably know, you start thinking about it, get your trip going. Everything there was reversed. Logic was backwards. If you want to stand still, you have to run. Every perspective, proportion, all the things are all twisted and opposite. And we wanted to do a little bit of a review of the team and think about, okay, what if things were the opposite? And so we're going to take a couple of different things that have happened this year, a couple players, a couple position groups, and say, what if they were opposite? What would it mean for the team? What would it look like in that case? And then go down and walk through and kind of see what conclusion we come to. There is no prescribed end here. This is literally the output of our conversation is going to be kind of the perspective that.
Oh,
here we go. Oh my God. I am so sorry, everybody. All right, so we're going to get back going. I hate this. I hate mimes. I hate being a mime. Again, appreciate everyone who hung out. Sorry about that. We'll edit that out. Let's get to this. Ash, the question was, we're doing this with everything reversed, including logic, everything else. We don't know where this is going. What do you feel like? You ready to get this done? I mean, you were only told about this, well, now about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yes. And
okay.
Best improv ever.
Let's see where this goes to. Oh, man, that's crazy. All right, so let's first off, the first thing we're going to look at is a part of the team that is everyone's talking about. And we've got to flip this on its head and say, what would that mean if it was the opposite this year? We would have, and I know it's changed since the last week, but we'll just go with this. We would have the worst offense in the league and the very, very best defense, which is interesting, right? Just to flip these on the head, we'd still be lamenting. We'd really, really be concerned, actually, after last year's performances, right? That we knew it, and we'll talk about who's the guy and who's not the guy. But this is a really interesting take now. Worst offense in the league, best defense. I mean, part of the thing is, I remember back in the day, the old saying, and this is a football adage that goes on for forever. If you score 100 points, you might win. If the opponent doesn't score any, you can't lose. So it kind of puts us into that kind of model, right? With the best defense, the worst offense. What do you think some of the thoughts are, Ash? Where do you think some of the narrative is here?
Well, I think if that was the case, obviously with all of these, we would still have complaints. They would just be very different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the path to how this team gets to that spot is pretty simple. Honestly, I think it's a twofold thing. Like, if Jared Goff was playing like mid-season last year, Jared Goff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's step one of how we get to there. But that is absolutely not what's been happening, despite the last game not having been spectacularly great, right?
Right.
And it's from a mindset, it almost feels like the majority of the coaches have almost been trying to engineer this as the outcome, but the front office has not been cooperating with that mindset at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's kind of the mindset Aylin came in with, is that he was going to be running an offense like that, where it's like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and we got to score. The deal keep them under 20. We got to score 21.
Yeah. Every
week. You know what I mean? And it just hasn't really been the case. And I don't think in this particular, I don't think we'd be happier with that, despite the different outcomes. I think we'd all be right now screaming about
not taking Malik Willis.
Yeah. Or, any of those but not very good quarterback prospects.
Right. But think about that. That was the guy everybody thought of it too when listed before the draft. I mean, the majority of people
not this guy.
I know, no, me either. I was never a Malik truther. but a lot of people screaming, Malik was the guy. We get him, right? Or so we don't have him. The offense isn't scoring. People are screaming that we should have got Malik, right? Or they change the narrative and say, oh, we should have gotten somebody else, right? But it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm trying to think who's starting this year that was drafted. It doesn't matter, Pickett. Right? Yeah, Pickett, right?
And Pickett is Goff. That's his ceiling is the good LA years with Goff. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. So it's interesting. So we have the worst offense in the league, the best defense. We have all kinds of concerns. I mean, it's going to be, all of our capital has to go for quarterback. All of our we won't talk about J-Mo just because he hasn't been back. But yeah, I mean, in this kind of a scenario, I guess J-Mo would have been back because that's the opposite, right?
Well, or they took someone else, like Hamilton, say.
Well, let's try to stay after the draft.
Okay.
Let's put that rule in place. Just to, because if you go before the draft, then it gets really crazy, right?
Who should we have signed in free agency? This is like a 12-hour show.
Right. All of a sudden, why didn't we sign Patrick Mahomes back in the... Anyway.
They had a chance, okay?
So that's kind of the thing here. You're looking at it, and so J-Mo's playing, and is it that Goff isn't getting it to him? Is it that he's not catching? I mean, you there's a whole number of scenarios. But if your offense is, the people would be on fire about the capital that was spent on the offense and the fact that it wasn't performing. So now, again, we'll get to what the record is later in this through the looking glass reverse world. And the defense, that whole idea of, they don't score, you can't lose, puts us in a different position. But still, I don't know that people are super happy because they're just waiting for the ceiling to cave in with a offense that doesn't work, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's get on. Let's get to the next one. Let's talk a little bit about Jeff Okudah. And I'm gonna put this out here, and I'm gonna say Jeff Okudah in the reverse world is an absolute flop. He doesn't come back from his injury. We don't have him. Amani's our number one guy. Now remember, we still have the best defense, right? So Amani's our guy. Maybe Jerry heals and makes it back in this bizarro world, and it's Amani
Or Will Harris.
Or Will Harris. Will Harris is a real medium kind of guy, though. So the opposite of medium is medium, right?
Fair enough. I guess, yeah, his opposite, I guess, would be that he is just not covering guys very well, but always. I don't even know with him because, yeah, that's like, how do you do opposite of just mediocre?
Right. It's just still mediocre.
Yeah.
You're still Will
Like
Harris.
he's always right there, makes the tackle. So I guess he's like getting pass breakups or giving up huge plays. So I guess he's Amani Oruwariye.
And that's what our defense needs in this world to become top in the league. So Jeff Okudah, think of where we are then as a fan base and the media narrative at that point. The guy, he comes back, he can't play, he's still hurt, maybe re-injured, is benched, whatever. He's an absolute flop this year, and now it would be the Jeff Okudah experiment is over, right? And the capital that we spent at that point, it would just be, again, it would be crazy. It would be so difficult as a fan to look at yet another high pick just float away in the breeze.
Yeah, like the negativity spiral of that is it's an intense one that we've seen a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's the Ziggy Ansah train right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except I guess he had the one really good year that kind of made that last 7 years instead of 3. But yeah. It's how many high picks have we watched not really do anything? Gosder Cherilus, right tackle of the future.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he went on to Indy and was fine as a right tackle, just he wasn't a first round kind of player.
Sure. Sure.
Same like in Tomlinson, how let's just keep rolling on these, we have watched a lot of really high draft capital just spiral down the drain.
Let me roll into another one. Levi Onwuzurike in this.
Yeah.
Again, we're taking this through the looking glass. The sequel to Alice in Wonderland, we're saying everything's reversed. We're looking through a mirror here.
Yep.
And we have Levi Onwuzurike. So he comes back and he plays. He's not injured. The injury's gone. Now let me ask you about Levi, though. Okay? We spent a lot of draft capital on him. We've seen him a little bit. What level in the real world is an uninjured Levi playing at? Is he as good as Aleem?
I think so. Like an actually healthy, able to have gone through preseason Levi Onwuzurike to me is the 3 technique starter for this team. He's better than Kaminsky. There's no question. And we've seen what Hutchinson looks like with just even barely still hanging on to the NFL Kaminsky beside him, but actually an NFL player. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if Kaminsky is causing damage in there, you bet a healthy Levi Onwuzurike would be wrecking things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
And that kind of doubles up for another guy we're going to talk about later that I won't force us into a transition to talk about right now. But it's kind of, we have 2 sides of the exact same coin that we're looking at and kind of going could one of you do something?
Yeah. Poke.
Yep.
Levi healthy out there. Obviously one of the reasons that the defense is performing as the number 1 defense in the league in this world. Let's go to Charles Harris, right? In this opposite world, Charles Harris is the guy that I believe you wanted to transition into. In this world,
he actually wasn't. We'll get there.
Oh, okay, cool. He's out there. Suddenly, he's performing at last year's level, right? Isn't that the opposite?
That's all we needed him to do.
Yeah.
And he's not. That's the thing. He's performing at his every other year level, which tells you what you should probably expect from 1-year wonders you sign on short contracts and yada, yada, yada. And they're playing for their NFL career. And then you give them a bunch of money. And then, hey, look, they're the guy they've been for the last 4 years, not the one.
Think of
But yeah, in this world, Charles Davis is at his, one sack every 2 games, providing consistent pressure, kind of keeping defenses honest with Aiden Hutchinson. Like it's not that big of a step to get because he hasn't been terrible either. Like
Right.
he's not personally responsible for every long run or anything like that. He's just a below average defensive end,
Yep.
which, he came in and did well as an outside linebacker, and then we made him play defensive end. But let's not go there. In this world, everything is wonderful, and he's performing at that rush end position.
Yeah. I mean, think about what and this maybe does start going to your best defense thing. Levi's healthy. Aleem's having a down year, right? In this bizarro world. Charles Harris is having his great year, and Aiden Hutchinson is getting sacks in 4 out of 5 games, right? Instead of 1 out of 5.
But I think the reason that Aleem not playing well is okay in this world is because we have John Pennicini holding down that middle instead of retiring. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah.
I think that's in this alternate present how we got there is that player stayed healthy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, that's interesting. Okay, we got a couple. Pascal, yeah, he's out there playing, right?
Yep, he's just rotating into those 3 spots.
Yeah,
spelling out Aiden Hutchinson, spelling out, I'm passing downs coming in, taking over Aleem's job. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that gives us 2 guys better than Kaminsky playing that Kaminsky role that has been absolutely vital to our defense doing anything.
Yeah,
which. Not what I expected to have come out of my mouth at the bye week is that John Kaminsky is the key to having a successful defense for the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, ouch. That hurts.
In this alternate present, he hasn't even touched the field.
Yeah.
That's his opposite.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, here's a good question from the chat. So with it being opposite world, does that mean you went back to the 3-4 and stood Harris back up so he can, I don't know, actually play like he did last year?
Gonna be honest with you, that's one of the moves they did this offseason that I haven't been a fan of. You bring back a bunch of guys who played really well for 1 year in a scheme, but you're running a completely different scheme, so you're asking them to do completely different things.
Yep.
Like even Alex Anzalone is doing different things than he had to do last year. That's every single player they brought back has a different job in the front 7. The secondary seems to pretty much be doing what they were doing last year that worked out reasonably well. They've just all been injured now and everything's on fire. But
at least Anzalone isn't having to cover for Jamie Collins. We got that going for us.
Yeah, that's
nice, right?
Rodrigo is doing the job we hoped Jamie Collins could, with a relatively high level of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll get to the linebackers later.
Yes. Let's get to the linebackers now. Let's just say, okay.
Let's just roll into it.
Yeah.
How does this
look
look better?
Defense. Let's do it. We have a capable linebacking staff.
Yeah.
That's the bizarro world, right?
Yep.
I mean, not just capable, but above average.
Yeah. Like Derek Barnes developed. He's looking really good out there in all of the playing time that he's getting.
He's been fantastic. He's really been fantastic. A real good.
Stepped in.
Turned me around on
my job, honestly.
Turned me around on my thoughts on Purdue with his excellent play.
Yep.
Derek Barnes out there, and oh god,
Chris Board worked out, extremely well. Like great coverage linebacker. He's in there participating constantly on 3rd downs. That's what he was in there for, and he's just like lightning on running plays, going sideline to sideline.
Jared Davis rotating in. Just wrapping up, knocking them dead all over the place.
Not overrunning plays at all in the preseason. It was like a whole different person.
And then the coverage, the coverage on tight ends, that coverage of those crossing routes over the middle. No linebacking core in the history of the Detroit Lions has ever been as deadly and as capable of stopping those plays. This year has just been off the charts with their ability to stop anything over the middle. And I've just been really impressed with this bizarro world group of linebackers and their stellar play.
Like I don't know how we cloned DeAndre Levy 4 times, but that's.
Oh man,
this one hurts. It hurts so bad.
Yeah. It's so interesting to think about. I mean, if everything was opposite, right? I mean,
Yep. Well, on paper, though, they brought in a guy who looked good when he played for another team in limited snaps. You know what I mean? Chris Board looked good for the Ravens. And they brought in a former first round pick who had been signed to a 1-year deal for another team and got injured, so they got him for nothing. That's the kind of gamble you want them to make. Now that we happen to have seen that player play a lot previously, Jared Davis is Jared Davis.
yeah.
But I didn't expect him to not make the team, man. What happened in a year? Because Jared Davis, last time he was with the Lions, would be the starting middle linebacker for this team right now. Yeah. So whatever happened with that injury and not getting to play for a year, man, that did a number on that guy, because he was not great. He was in the bottom half of starting linebackers in the NFL always on his best day, but he was one of the top 64 linebackers in the NFL. And now he's not even on a roster where, man, that guy would be so nice to have. Top 64. If we could have one of those on the field at any given time, that would be great. Because I love Rodrigo, but the reason he has high PFF grades is because they are not asking him to do anything hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they judge based on, did this guy do his job on this play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if his job is absolute last coverage option, so he's taking the tight end 3, he's getting that done. You know what I mean? And they know that that's all he can do in that regard right now. And maybe he develops into something better later. You know what I mean? But
he's got
downhill in the run game, he's a guy. He's a dude.
He's good. He's a good pressure roll guy too. He does a good job with that.
Yep.
And let's face it, you got to love the personality, right? I mean, you can't not like Rodrigo, the personality. So that's really good stuff. Yeah, this is interesting. We're doing the through the looking glass, a kind of reverse view of the Lions.
Yep.
If everything was the opposite, where would we be with this team right now? There's all the content you want talking about how players are this year, but we're trying to think of what would have been had it been different and opposite in many ways.
So Jared Davis and Derek Barnes are ripping up the middle of the field in the linebacker curve. That's where we're at on this alternate universe.
Yes.
Despite my digression into misery.
Levi's my biggest win. I'm so happy Levi's just killing it this year. That's the one. I'll tell you with Jared Davis, just from a human perspective, at training camp, one of the days we were there this year, we came out and he was, you come from behind the building around to the front to where you get to go around to parking, and he was out the front side of the building with his daughter just playing in the grass a little bit, and it's adorable. You know what I mean? It's always great to see, having been a dad, playing with the kids and that interaction and that, and just how he's proud, just a happy dad kind of thing right after, and he's still wearing, he hasn't showered yet. It's right after practice and he's out there playing. It was just heartwarming. It's hard not to root for a guy like Jared, and that really that stinks, but whatever.
It sucks so bad. I like all these guys. Yeah. I like they still don't have any turds.
Yeah.
To use the nomenclature of our coach who's been nailing it all year in this alternate world.
Really quick, Corey, that's great. Corey, get your Levi jerseys while supplies last. I think that's true in the Bizarro world and the real world, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know that supplies are.
I suspect
going to be
however many they have will be 75% off in the off season.
All right, Hattori Hanzo. I am going to be rich on Monday. No Sunday bar tab and no Lions betting losses. I got to tell you, man, I cranked on it yesterday in college football. I'm a cheap degenerate when I do it, but I raked in big. The one that made me the most angry was a parlay I did. I had a 5-game parlay, and Tennessee beat Alabama, which just wrecked my whole parlay. I would have done real well with that. That would have been nice. But in that vein, we got something quick. There you go. All right, that's it.
Woo.
So thank you for the segue there, Hattori. But I loved it, especially again. The Guardians were in a 10th inning extra innings thing, and I saw an opportunity to drop a quick bet. Like within 10 minutes, I turned $40. It was great. It was so awesome.
Yep.
It's fun. I mean, it's really fun to have that kind of access and do that. So I'm actually
Always liked that company, honestly. Like
Yeah.
just from a legitimate personal level, I was very unhappy when their services were no longer available in Canada. I think they are in Ontario now.
I'm guaranteeing they're going to try to fix that. But all right, let's get back to it. Corey Chupp, and it's either Chupp or Choop, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Corey. I'm not the smartest guy, not the sharpest.
There's no
stick in the
umlaut.
drawer.
I think we're okay with calling him Chup.
Chupp, okay. My optimism resides here. Last year the offense was horrible. Campbell adapted. And this year's wide receiver is probably our deepest unit with a high scoring offense. Going to have the same focus on defense in year 3. I definitely agree. Before we get back into the mirrored world here through the looking glass, rhymes with pup. Thank you, Corey. I think that having one side of the ball during a rebuild has to be your point of focus, and having the other side of the ball being tops in the league, that's actually probably a good place to be and a good problem to have.
Yep.
The defense I don't think is completely unfixable. I think
no, not at all.
We can.
I think
more
we're
out of them.
3 guys.
Yeah.
Like there are 3 guys available in trade right now. I'm just going to hit this that like I would be making phone calls about if I were the Lions.
Who would you?
Brian Burns, like rumors are. I don't think that's actually happening. I don't think Carolina is going to go into a teardown, but people keep talking about this. And Brian Burns is what you hope the Rams draft pick would turn into if you took a pass rusher with that draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
getting that now helps now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's only 24 years old right now. Like that's the kind of guy they should be looking for. If it wasn't the Bears, Roquan Smith would look real nice. That's that spectacular linebacker play we're talking about that we are just not getting. And again, like that's, if you draft a guy in the early second round to play that position, that's the person you hope he turns into, if that makes sense. And he also is still very young. And then there's a guy, Sidney Jones, who is not playing corner in Seattle right now. He's a healthy scratch every week because he doesn't play special teams. And you cannot tell me he's not a better player than Amani O this year.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like just in that, if we were gonna make some, and you could probably have him for like a conditional, like 2024 7th, because like they're literally not putting, he's not playing. He's Josh Reynolds last year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like 2 weeks away from getting cut, basically. You could have him for like a whisper in a song kind of thing. So like it's, things could happen right now to make this team immediately better. I don't think they're going to do any of that because of where we are in the rebuild. But if they were going to do it, those are the moves I think they should look at, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy who's in a place where they're not happy, or like they're about to do what Brad Holmes did year 1. You know what I mean? Like if the Panthers are tearing it down, that is a player I will be unhappy if he goes to any other team. You know what I mean? Just because of who he is and his age and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, back to not reality.
To the bizarro world. Yeah. That's
Go back to 8 Mile instead of Detroit.
No, I think that's a good use of that pick. And I think
the movie. I know 8 Mile is actually in Detroit. I'm aware of that.
There's a
for anyone who's going to be a jerk on the internet.
There's a thing now, and this is where like when you start thinking about who you might be able to pick up, when you have an offense the way ours is, and when it really is getting a couple of defensive pieces to turn things around, you could be the guy. Imagine being, one of 3 guys that come into the team that actually turn things around. Because again, we've talked about being, a 25th ranked defense. This team has 3 or 4 wins this year potentially.
Yep. That's why I'm saying
be one or the 3 of the 3 guys that turn this into the 15th ranked defense, and all of a sudden you were the piece that changed and brought success to where there hasn't been any. And this is one of the things where you need to work on one side of the ball, and you can see where those spaces are. And if you're the guy that gets to come in, that's pretty sweet. That's really sweet to as a kind of a incentive to come to a team. And it helps, to have a coach who's such a player coach to come into a place where, if let's be honest, especially on defense, if you're that kind of guy, you're the guy that has the grit, the whole thing that they preach, that whole mentality that this crew is preaching. So frankly, I think from a personnel perspective, Detroit set itself up. I mean, from a year and a half ago when we were sitting here staring at Patricia and Quinn, who made everybody hate Detroit and wanted to leave, to becoming a magnet for talent. and or a potential magnet for talent. That's a big step forward. That's a big step forward for this team. And I think no matter where we are, we got to thank Campbell and Holmes for that, because that was probably one of the key pieces of culture that had to go.
Yep.
All
Absolutely.
right. Flounder, thank you, brother, for the super chat. Just catching up with the start of the show. Nice job showing us Chris through the looking glass. In order to be heard, you have to stop talking. Oh, Flounder. Wow, you hurt me so. All right, let's get into it now. Take a look on the offensive side of the ball, and let's start off with the big player. We're looking through the looking glass. Everything's in reverse. It's a mirror. You have to run to stand still, right? It's an alternate world. We're trying not to reverse the logic, but sometimes you have to bend it a little bit. First and foremost, our quarterback, Jared Goff, because it's through the looking glass and things reverse, he's not the guy. We are, I think you said it earlier, mid-season last year form Jared Goff. Things are off the rails. We have the worst offense in the league. What are the conversations? Let's start off. What is Jared Goff doing wrong? What is it? Why is he doing so poorly this year in this world, Ash?
He's not taking chances, and he's not turning the ball over somehow. Despite the resurgence, like, how many pick sixes, man? That's how, like, the thing is, like, what is he actually like what could the complaints be? Because the complaints right now are that, like, he's turning the ball over too much, and you would assume that would, like, if you flip his performance completely, then he's just being a really safe quarterback that is not turning the ball over and managing the game.
Average yard pass of 3 yards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was mid-season last year.
Yep. Yeah, just like everything 2 yards short of the sticks, like we saw last week. Like, basically that. It's that all year, which it has not been, which is why the offense has been good. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like, we basically just take last week, multiply that by 5. That's what we're looking at. You know what I mean? Nothing good, nothing bad, just meh.
Just meh.
Just a guy. Yeah.
Right. And we're not seeing, like, Cephas is playing, but we're not, the many catches he's got are for nothing, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys, Josh Reynolds is not impactful. I mean, across from a weapons perspective, is at the wide receiver position, nothing's happening, right? It's just
DJ Chark's crushing it.
Oh yeah.
Somehow he's getting open for all these deep touchdowns.
No.
And our offense still sucks.
With the best defense in the league. Oh, God.
Yep. That's our 6 points a game.
This is where we have to bend the logic a little bit.
Yeah. It's like it's hard to do this one. Because, like, DeAndre Swift, healthy, but 2 yards a carry.
Let's talk about
what's going on there.
Super healthy, but just isn't producing, right? Caught in the backfield all over the place. Can't shake anybody. Always running to the outside. Right?
It's because our incredibly healthy offensive line just isn't getting it done up the middle.
You're just running ahead too far. Slow it down here. DeAndre Swift, oh my God, he just can't get it done. We're angry with DeAndre now. Yeah, fine, he's healthy, but he can't do it. I liked it better when he was hurt, because he used to be able to, bring something to the table for these Lions.
Yeah, exactly. Like, now he's getting 20 carries a game, but it's for 3.5 yards each. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we're stuck there. DeAndre's there. We're out on him. That's something we're gonna need next year. We're going to figure out the running back. We have to figure out the quarterback, going back to Goff. I mean, holy cow. Everyone's angry we didn't take Malik. Everyone's angry, or somebody, right, early in the draft. Yep. People are just frustrated with this team. This is the part, because they can't score. This offense wasn't built for anything. And then to the O-line. Healthy as all heck. The right 5 guys are out there, but damn, they stink. What are we going to do? Now we don't have an O-line.
We got to replace Frank Haley, like that's...
Yeah, Frank Haley.
That's got to go.
Frank Haley's a wreck. Yeah, that's funny. If they underperform, I mean, think about this reverse world that we're in. We need a quarterback, we need a running back, and our O-line is trash across the board when they're healthy.
But at least Hawkinson's crushing it.
Hawkinson, yeah. Between Hawkinson and Shark, that's our whole offense right?
Yeah, most consistent players imaginable.
And it's all end arounds and handoffs.
Yep.
Hawkinson playing fullback.
Yeah.
Oh man. Tough. Good question, Corey. Can Chark play corner? I think if he's the injury bug is already bad enough for him. I don't know that he could be laying hits on people and stay healthy.
He's also a little tall.
The athleticism piece is going to be a little tough. I mean, I'm not completely out on tall corners because we've seen some of them able to perform, and in some places they've actually done pretty well. But his kind of tall, I don't think is what you're going to need from a cornerback.
I guess fair enough. Like Tariq Woolen, the guy was, immediately when we started doing draft coverage going, please take this player.
Mm-hmm.
Looks real nice in Seattle right now.
He looked good out there at the Senior Bowl too. I really, really liked Tariq Woolen.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I told you were gonna. I'm like, the guy looks like a statue and he moves like smooth like Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just zero wasted effort on any movement. Like I have a man crush on him, and it angers me he plays somewhere else. And we have instead Ifeatu Melifonwu that you could say most of those things about as well, but just can't play football.
Well, in this world, he's short. We got him, and he doesn't do anything, and he's slow.
Truth.
All right. Yeah, Holmes was smart not to commit long-term money to Chark. It was a prove-it deal, and I thought for sure he was going to bring a heck of a lot more. I thought we would hear Baby Chark playing in Ford Field by now, and I don't know what happened.
Nothing.
I don't know what happened.
Well, I guess it's sometimes guys don't come back. Like his current ankle injury, people are saying is an injury on that same ankle that he had the surgery on. So that's that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just he didn't get all the way back. It got hurt again. That's why you signed him for 1 year.
Yep. Amani Aroways are. I'm gonna just record that. I go get it, record it, say it until I get it right, record it, and then just hit the button every time I need to say his name. Amani Arowaye is playing like an all-pro corner. Yep, that's what gives us the best defense in the league in this bizarro looking glass world. It's very interesting. Want to talk about
just the health. The health of that defense is incredible. Like no one has missed any snaps. It's just.
It's really difficult if you're not a starter on the defense. You're not getting the experience or the growth, an opportunity to perform on the field. You're getting frustrated. You might be
never going to develop anybody.
No, unfortunately, no, because we don't need to. Darn it! All right, let's look to the big guy, Dan Campbell, and in this
and his flawless decision making,
his flawless clock management, flawless decision making, somewhat vanilla play calling. Let's be honest. It's pretty plain. There's no surprises coming out of him. He's just going to do what he does, and he's going to try to do it better than you. That's it.
Well, that's why the offense is so terrible this year is because they're so unbelievably predictable. Like you know what they're going to do before the snap. Like we've reverted to the Jim Bob Cooter days, where literally they would line up and like fans that had only watched like half of the games would be like, oh, okay, so this is a run up the middle. Like that's where we're at right now.
Right. Oh my gosh. Jim Bob Cooter days. This hit me right in the feels, in the fandom.
Yeah.
He's predictable. He's unwilling to take a chance. Right? It's 3 and out, 3 and out.
Same old Lions is what it is.
Yeah, it really
100% exactly the same thing we've been watching for all these years.
And darn it, we need a coach that's willing to take a chance. Why not go for it on 4th down once in a while? Why not just do something a little bit different? What do the analytics say? Let's do something besides 1986 football. This feels a lot like Matt Patricia in that there's nothing exciting, nothing original, and nothing particularly interesting going on with his offense, and it's why it's one of the worst in the league. Dan Campbell really needs to shake free, take a chance once a while, and be more of a modern coach. Think more progressively in the way he's doing it. Try to advance the role of an offense and advance the role of a team and the way they play, rather than playing on the backside of the curve. You want to be on the front of the curve, driving change into the league and catching people by surprise, not being the one that you always knew and always saw before.
And it wouldn't be so bad if the man just took personal accountability for anything that ever happens. You know what I mean? Like if he was standing up there in this press conferences and saying, yeah, I made that mistake, that's 100% on me, and actually meaning it, then we could probably maybe forgive him a little bit.
Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Why? Okay, so
Yep.
Dan Campbell, I mean, we failed at hiring a coach. We've had incredible problems with that. I don't know what we can even say at this point with that. But with all this, with this terrible offense, this great defense, Dan Campbell being the most predictable coach ever to lead a team, the Lions have a 4-1 record.
Yes, they do.
What? Where are we? What are we doing here?
Well, we're the Giants, basically. Like that's.
Oh wow.
That's
It's
like
so,
if we're gonna call it what it is, that's like we don't deserve to be here.
nobody
Everyone
believes.
knows we don't deserve to be here,
No,
but here we are.
nobody
Woo.
believes in our 4-1 record.
Like that's the question today, and like we actually didn't talk about that beforehand because it literally just punched me in the face. But would we be happier if we were the New York Giants right now? Because you're looking at that and going, yeah, but we're the third best team in this division. Like, all we're doing is limiting our draft position by catching some folk by surprise. And because I've said that, they're going to go 14-2 now. But
Yeah, right. No, nobody believes it. Nobody
14-3,
believes in the
yeah.
Giants. Nobody believes in the Giants, though. Even the Giants are surprised by how the Giants are
No.
doing.
Even
Steve-O,
intelligent fans are saying that that's a fugazi.
Steve-O, yes. In a way, it's opposite day. We're doing this through the looking glass review of the Lions and their performance this year. Saying, if we looked at it in reverse, in the mirror, what would we see and what would the narrative be on the team? And where would be? We're 4-1 instead of 1-4. We have the worst offense in the league and the best defense. Jared Goff is a problem. We're going to need running back. DeAndre Swift isn't performing. Jamal Williams isn't performing. But Levi Onwuzurike is killing it out there. Levi's out there doing great work. Amani Oruwariye, killing it. We lost Jeff Okudah. He never came back. That was a problem for us, and a lot of wasted capital. If we kind of think of things working out the opposite of how they did now, how do we feel as fans? I mean, we've got the wins, and that's what everyone says. It doesn't matter unless you get the W's. And the W's do make up for a whole lot.
Just win, baby.
But staring at what we have out there in this oppositeville, in this looking glass world, the future still doesn't look very good.
No.
People are going to be frustrated, angry, and screaming about the sky falling, even with that 4-1 record.
Yep. That's the thing. We saw it previously. I think it was those of us who are old saw it in 2007 when the Lions were 6-1. And I thought, what team was it? Was it actually the Giants who came in and said, like, on film, this is the worst 6-1 team I've ever seen. We are going to destroy them this week. And then they didn't win a single game for the rest of the year after getting annihilated. It was either the Cowboys or the Giants. I don't remember, but yeah, that's it. 2007, 6-2, ended 2007. Thank you, JJ. But yeah, and it's that team did not deserve to be there, and everybody but the players on that team knew that they did not deserve to be there. Whereas right now, I like this better. This is a team that is literally 4 plays away from being that 4-1 team.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, in flipping back to our side of the looking glass for just a moment, like, it doesn't have to be that different for us to be there right now, but we're not.
In these two worlds, our side of the mirror or the other side of the mirror, which position would you rather be in as a team, as a fan?
I prefer where we're at, honestly. Like, we have reason for optimism right now, whereas like that 6-2 that ended 7-9, there was no optimism going into that 2008 season for anyone who was actually looking at anything. Like, there's nothing good coming out of that. Uh, but the best defense isn't maintainable. That's it's just been shown. It is just straight analytics. You cannot hold a great defense together for years and years and years and years and see success. You have to have like the teams that are consistently great are the offensive teams. Like there's always one, you know what I mean? Like all those years Houston was really good. They had a great defense. And what did that matter? They got blown out in the wild card game every year because they couldn't score any points when things got hard. You know, like eventually Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Matthew Stafford or whoever is going to come in and put up 35 on you in the playoffs. You're not going to win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
you know,
it's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. That's so interesting. And when it came time to get the talent to fix what ailed them, they made the wild card. So they didn't have that kind of pick of the litter, the cream of the crop to help push them over the top. Are we at the point this year where we're saying lose out already? Or are we saying, look,
no.
we keep at it and we're happy if they turn around, we're happy with a 10th to 15th overall pick?
I always prefer to not pick in the top 10, like every single year forever for the rest of eternity, because teams that pick in the top 10 suck. Like if you're picking in the top 10, that means you suck. And there is nothing else to say about that. You are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And yes, one or two of those teams every year jumps out and makes the playoffs, but then they don't make the playoffs again the year after that because it's always some fluky thing, like 1 year of a division not going well, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, something Harris like that. Plays, you know what I mean?
Charles Harris, like, DJ Chark play like they,
like it's just not sustainable. Like what are we looking at with the Bengals this year? You know, like they were not great after Joe Burrow's first year. You know what I mean? And then they jumped up and had that beautiful run. And man, I'm not saying I wouldn't love to see that in Detroit.
Right.
I would love to go on a run like that.
That'd
be the best thing I've ever seen from this team. And I'm an old man. You know what I mean? Like that'd be great. But it wasn't real. And we're seeing that this year.
Yep.
That like teams have kind of figured out what they did and they're just not letting them do that. And they can't do anything else. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. JJ, I think finishing 5-12 or 6-11 is acceptable this year, considering injuries and god awful D. Oh yeah, I would 6 wins this season I'd be absolutely ecstatic with that at this point. And what's nuts, right? I thought this team was looking at a 7-win season. That's where I landed. I thought the ceiling was 10. The consensus was at 6 wins is kind of where the team's landing at this point. If they had 6, I'd be really, really happy with that kind of output.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a 5 to 7 thing. You know, like that's what this team was, and anybody expecting more than that kind of got sucked in by Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
bluntly.
Yep.
You know, where a bunch of guys who weren't very good were made to look like they kind of were.
Well, they were interesting, right? And you got to get close to them, which is always an interesting when you get to start seeing these things about people and you start finding things. Oh, I like that. That's something that's really cool. Like, and you kind of see their personality. You connect with them, and then you really, think you start. It shows how biases affect your ability to make judgments. I think it's a heck of an example, the Detroit Lions this year, in illustrating how biases can affect judgment. So
the reason Hard Knock teams don't do well is because you have to be a terrible team to end up on Hard Knocks. Like that's just how that works. Like if you were good, you wouldn't be there.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, this is really interesting. So we go through this looking glass, we come up with this team, and we wind up kind of in a sad place.
Yep.
Is there any winning with the Detroit Lions? And I don't mean winning games. I mean, as a fan, is there any way that you can come out on top here?
Or are we all just voluntarily slamming our face into a brick wall week after week?
I don't think that's it.
I don't think so either.
In this alternative universe, oh gosh, Corey's hot today. This alternative universe, can the Lions get at least one pick six for the love of God? Oh my God, it's the top defense in the league. Are you kidding me? They're pick sixing all day. That's how we're winning. That's it. That's how we got our record to 4-1. It's all defense.
Tracy has caught every single catchable ball that's gone his way, and he's run back too.
That's it. Oh, okay. The logic is what is starting to come back now. We're the best defense, worst offense, but we can't. The offense isn't scoring. It's all defensive scoring. Oh God, can you think about? I mean, can you imagine how on fire things would be? Yeah, we're 4-1. I mean, they're the memes right now. It'd be just don't even put the offense on the field, right? Put Levi's your center, right? Yeah, just
punt on first.
Yay, they got the ball. We're gonna score.
Put Fox in a quarterback.
Oh man, that's great. Oh, what a crazy world.
We'd be in a spot right now where people would be calling for TB12 to go in.
Tim Boyle.
Yep.
Superstar.
That's our version of he's that's where we'd be at the bye week is can they get him ready?
Yeah.
And man, I gotta say, like, just
yeah.
No.
Oh my God, that would be, it would be so hard. I mean, it's a different kind of difficult, and in a weird way, it reminds me so much of the Patricia years.
Yep.
Like across the board, this kind of reverso world of where the Lions are now. I'm with you on where they are now versus where they're going to go and what they're going to be. There's a future here. And if not just the Patricia years, but if this bizarro world, this looking glass world were real, you don't see a future for this team. And that's where, look, as a fan, that's the hardest part. You can say same old Lions, you can say that all the time, but the one thing that carries people is there's hope or there's a path to betterment. And that's what I think shook out so many people during the Patricia years. They just didn't see a way that the team could get better.
Yeah.
And we're seeing progression now. It's been hard the last 3 weeks of football with the Lions. It feels like the progression stopped, and they've got to shake that because that's the thing that's going to hurt them. And I know it hasn't. It's just not always visible on field, which is tough. And between that and the injuries that they've tried to have to fight through those. Everybody does, but it always feels like the Lions are the shit stick on that one. You're just in a place, right? You're in a place.
Yep.
What else we got? Oh, JJ. Yeah. He's guilty of getting hyped. I thought instead of it was a radioactive symbol, but either way, it's the same thing. All right.
Well, in the modern NFL, like if no offense equals no future.
The football. No offense equals no future. That's right.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
And the MO for this team in the offseason was that it was going to be we were going to outscore them. We knew that. We knew the defense was going to struggle this year. We didn't know it would be as mightily as it did. I mean, I think the idea was, look, we're going to stop them 2 times, maybe 3 times a game. But our offense is going to be so potent and so high-powered that we're going to outscore them, and those stops are all we need. Right. And I think that's where, the defense has let down the rest of the team. They haven't gotten those stops. I think even with J-Mo coming back and the opportunity to get healthy for a lot of guys right now, that offense is going to start clicking on those cylinders again. Is Jerry going to make a difference? Right. Is Josh Paschal coming back going to make that difference? I think they're definitely difference makers. Can they get us? What's it going to take to get this to the 25th, 27th best defense in the league? Because if we could find that, I think that it gives us. I think it gives us those 6 wins. I think it'll give us the 6 wins we're looking for on the season.
Even from this point, like we all thought we would be better than this at this point, based on the teams that we saw. Like some people say 2 wins, some people say 3 is what they had before the season, but that's kind of where everybody sat on this throughout. Everyone who talks about the Lions, like all of them, what I mean? We're somewhere in that range, and we're not there, but there's obvious reasons why, and there are things that the team doesn't really have control over. Like, yes, there are also things that they do, but there's a whole bunch of things where Brad Holmes was playing blackjack and looking at a 13, and he's like, all right, hit every time, and he's just got nothing but face cards on every single one of those. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're just in a bad spot. You know what I mean? So you're like, okay, I'm going to take the best option available here. I don't have any money to spend. I don't have a lot of draft capital to spend. I'm just going to try this. You know what I mean? Because there's not really a whole bunch of other options. And every single one of those has just taken him to 23.
Yeah. And so the one thing we're starting to get is this year we're going to see a lot more cash available, right? From a cap perspective, the Lions are going to be in a different position they've been for 4 years.
Yeah.
That's going to open up. And I think between, the amount of money we have, we've got 2 first-round picks again. We've got guys coming back healthy. JMO's a key piece of that. I think we're in a really interesting space. As a team going forward. And like you said, try hit me. We got some money to go get, right? To choose cards. Yep. I'm really wrecking the metaphor here, but to go choose the cards we want and get something out of it. Are we making any real world trades, Steve Shattuck?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Like in midseason, I don't see it. Like they're not going to trade Hawk because they have him under contract for another year, and he is a good player despite the lack of consistency. I mean, it's tight end. Tight end does not produce consistency. That's an idea that people need to get out of their minds. There are like 3 consistent receiving tight ends in the NFL, and they each make like $15 million. And okay, so Hawkinson's not that. It's just not a reasonable expectation to have him go for 65 yards every single game.
Yeah.
He's going to have 1 where he gets 150 and then 3 where he gets 40.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think they're not buying. Like I think they should, but they will not. At least it would shock me if they did. But every time I say something like that, Brad Holmes comes out and uppercuts me in the jaw, and then they do the exact thing I thought there was no way they were going to do. Like, I don't know if you remember me cackling like a schoolgirl when they traded up and drafted Jamison Williams on the draft show. I was barely coherent. I hadn't had a single thing to drink. I was just like, I can't believe they actually did it.
I love that move. I still do. And maybe we'll pay for it, but we'll see. The Anzarike thing is, I think, the one that hurts me the most still, though, looking back, because of what he could be and what he could mean to this team. And it's so hard to swing and miss there. It's so hard to swing and miss with that much capital, effectively. You know what I mean? Because a high draft pick is money. It is straight money. And to miss with that, oh, man.
Particularly when you're watching there was one defensive tackle taken between him and Alim McNeil, and that guy living crap out of us last week on the other side of the ball. So like when you're watching Christian Barmore, who the only reason he wasn't taken earlier is off the field stuff and like effort things, the exact kind of player Dan Campbell is not going to ever want to come anywhere near his locker room. He went into New England, he figured his stuff out, and here we go, right? Great player we didn't take. Story of the Detroit Lions. Like that's, if I were writing a book, that's what it would be called. The great player we didn't take.
Yeah. God. Well, and I mean, it's better than the book that the Browns write. The great quarterback we traded up to miss.
Yeah. How many? Yeah. Like I did some data crunching a while ago, like for an article when I first started writing for the site about like what the best way is to move on from a quarterback and when you should, kind of as a like, okay, everyone needs to pump the brakes on this. We need to get rid of Stafford thing. And like the least consistent way is drafting up. They're like trading up into the second half of the first round of the draft from the second round, because the only team that has done it is the Cleveland Browns. And they missed on like 6 straight guys. Like if you take out Cleveland Brown draft picks, the hit rate on first round quarterbacks jumps from about, I think it was 53% up to somewhere in the 70s. Like I was just looking at it going like, how are they this bad at this game? I don't understand.
Wow.
And it's just that thing. They draft the hype last guy left every time,
Oh man. Yeah, boy, this is interesting. So, hey, Plan B, this alternate universe stuff is hilarious. Yeah, it was a thought experiment that I was kind of going through, and I pulled Ash into it to say what happens if we're in opposite world, or looking at it like kind of Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass and see the reverse of what we have. And I mean,
I keep dragging us back to reality like a jerk.
It's hilarious in a way because we go from a 1-4 team to a 4-1 team, and there's a very real possibility that fans and the media are actually angrier than they are today. That's the thing.
Yep.
That's just like, oh my God, that's and the future looks worse. That's the thing that just kind of scrambles my eggs. I didn't know that's where we would end up. I didn't know that's where we'd end up at all, but it was interesting. Right? This is something I think we can play with and mess around with some more as we go on. But Ash, I appreciate you jumping in, especially last minute to just kind of walk down this lane with me and think this through. I want to tell everyone else, don't forget about patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. Great place to get action with us and hang out in the Slack. Sign up for a $5 a month donation, and you'll get in there and have all the smartest minds in football around. I mean, Scott, Ash, Riz, me, Case, Sandman, we're all in there, and a whole bunch of other people, and it's just a great place to go. Real respectful people to talk Lions and come up with different thoughts and plans. And yeah, I mean, every now and then you get something, but we as a community, we do a good job of self-policing. Yep. I think so. There we go. I think with that, I have to try this one more time. Something didn't work evidently with the audio. Sorry about that, everybody. But we'll get this on, and I want to thank you for joining us on the show. The football season is kicked off. Detroit is breaking down film, and they're getting ready for the next game while other teams are working on their game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is drawing up a winning play for all of their new customers. All new customers need to do is sign up using promo code TPPN and bet $5 on any team to win before their game kicks off, and you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets if your team wins. That's right. New customers who bet $5 at least on any team to win their next game will get an additional $200 in free bets if your team wins. Plus, with same-game parlays, you can combine multiple bets from the same game to give yourself a shot at even bigger winnings all season long. For those in states where sports betting is not yet available, don't forget about DraftKings Daily Fantasy. They've been innovating even more ways to win some cash this football season. DraftKings has been around for a while, so you know your funds are safe and can be withdrawn whenever and wherever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code TPPN and receive $200 in free bets if your team wins after placing a $5 pregame wager. That's promo code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, new customers bet $5 on an NFL football wager and get $200 extra bucks in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings has so many ways to make watching sports more fun. I had a blast cashing in my win against Washington and having locked in a plus 220 money line against New England. I'm all in on this week's game as well. DraftKings Sportsbook, join us and you can be a player too. All right. Thank you, everybody, for doing that and riding with us. DraftKings is a great place. We've talked about it before, but we want to make sure we get them everything that they asked for out of that. So thank you, DraftKings, and everybody for being part of the show. Thank you all for joining us. Again, don't forget about the Patreon. Also on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. It's the best place to see us and hang out with us pants free. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word. Detroit Lions Podcast, and you can use the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. I'm not sure. I'm not real excited about the early games today, Ash, from a watching perspective. I'm actually going to go season my Blackstone griddle, and then the Chiefs and Buffalo. That's one that I'm actually happy that I have a day where I can just sit and watch a game like that without any distractions. It's gonna be good.
Well, here's what I have to say about the bye week this year, Chris. No Lions, no cry.
Be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll do all that stuff in your ears automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs. No problems, baby. And thank you for joining on this journey. I think this is an interesting kind of way to look at things and kind of get perspective on where the team is. Ash, thanks a lot for joining me. This was kind of literally just pulled out of our hat, and it was fun. It was fun to have just a different kind of conversation about that stuff. Remember, we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.